My beloved, you woke up today not as a shadow of who you used to be, but as the living proof that my purpose in you cannot be erased by what left. I know the days behind you carried loss, some quiet, some loud. People, plans, possibilities. They slipped away one by one, and part of you wondered if you were being diminished each time. But let me say this clearly now. You're not what you lost. You're who you've become through it. And who you've become is more beautiful, more grounded, and more radiant than you even realize. You haven't been shrinking, you've been shifting. There's a big difference. Shrinking happens when you hide who you are to avoid pain. But shifting? That's what happens when I begin molding you into something even more aligned with who I created you to be. And you've been shifting. Quietly, courageously, deeply. The world may have missed it, but I haven't missed a moment. You've learned how to walk with less in your hands, but more in your spirit. You've discovered strength, not from holding everything together, but from letting go with dignity. That's not defeat. That's transformation. What you lost didn't weaken you, it revealed you. It uncovered the part of you that still hoped, still dreamed, still believed, even when things didn't go the way you planned. That part of you is powerful. That part of you is mine. Too often you've looked at what's gone as if it defines what remains. But what remains is sacred. The love still inside you. The creativity still waiting to be released. The courage still rising every time you choose to begin again. The world sees people by what they possess. I see you by what you carry. And you carry wisdom now, compassion, resilience, the kind of insight that only grows in the soil of endurance. Let me remind you, you didn't lose your purpose. You didn't lose your value. Those things aren't fragile. They're not tied to circumstances. They're rooted in me, and I don't change. So while others may have walked away, and seasons may have shifted, I've remained. Not just beside you, but within you, calling you forward into what's next. And yes, there is more ahead. Not just a recovery of what was, but a revelation of what never had space to grow before. Some of the things you lost made room for things you didn't even know you needed. Room for new vision. Room for deeper relationships. Room for peace that doesn't need to be proven to be real. I know it didn't feel like a gift at first, but now look closer. Feel deeper. Breathe in this moment. You're still here. That means I'm still building. Remember, I'm the one who brings rivers in the desert, the one who takes dry bones and breathes life back into them. You're not running out. You're rising up. I know the calendar moved forward, but I'm not late. What I've started in you is still unfolding. And today I want you to walk like someone who hasn't missed anything, because what matters most is still in motion. The world doesn't need a perfect version of who you were. It needs the healed, humble, wiser version that's emerging now. You don't need to explain why certain things ended. You don't need to justify the seasons that closed. Every loss that felt like the end was just a doorway to what could no longer wait. And now, here you are, with eyes that see more, with a heart that loves deeper, with a soul that no longer needs to prove its place. You're not broken. You're becoming. You're not drifting. You're being redirected. You're not forgotten. You're being refocused. There's a difference, and you'll begin to see that difference more clearly as you move forward without dragging the old definitions behind you. The next chapter isn't about replacing what you lost. It's about discovering what was always inside you, waiting for this very moment. The confidence you thought left with that relationship, it's still here. The joy you believed was tied to that opportunity, it's growing roots in new soil. The vision you thought had died, it's been reawakening inside your spirit, quietly, steadily, faithfully, because I never stopped speaking to it. So lift your head today. You don't need to walk like someone trying to recover a former version of themselves. You're not going backward. You're not starting over. You're continuing with clarity. The parts of your life that you thought disqualified you, I'm using them to prepare you. Not just for survival, but for significance. This is a morning of awakening, not the kind that just opens your eyes, but the kind that opens your spirit. I'm calling you to rise not just from the bed, but from the idea that you are less now than before. You are not. You're more. Because you've been through fire and still kept your softness. Because you've known disappointment and still choose hope. Because you've tasted grief and still open your hands to joy. That is power. That is kingdom strength. And it shines from you even when you're not trying. What you lost does not name you. I do. And I say you are radiant, you are steady, you are still rising. And I'm not finished writing the story that started long before the loss and continues far beyond it. There's something I want to gently confront in you, not to wound, but to free. Somewhere along the way, you began to believe that what left did so because you weren't enough. Maybe you never said it out loud, but I heard the undertones in your silence. I saw how you held back in moments when you used to shine freely. I saw how you second-guessed your instincts, questioned your place, and tried to stay small enough not to be left behind again. And I want to be clear, none of it was because you were lacking. You were never too much. You were never not enough. That narrative didn't come from me. It came from disappointment, from misinterpreted silence, from people who didn't recognize the treasure I placed in you. But just because they didn't see it doesn't mean it stopped existing. Your identity doesn't shrink in the absence of applause. Your purpose doesn't dissolve when others don't understand it. I saw every part of you they missed, and I called it good. Let me remind you of something holy. The absence of a person, a platform, or a season is not evidence of absence of worth. Sometimes I remove what distracts you from the deeper truth of who you are, not to harm, but to refine, not to punish, but to protect. Not everything that walks away is rejection. Some losses are invitations, silent doorways to something more aligned with your spirit than you could have imagined at the time. You've been looking at the aftermath and wondering if something's wrong with you. Let me flip that question. What if the shaking was never meant to destroy you, but to uncover what could no longer be hidden? What if what you called loss was actually the shedding of layers that no longer fit who you're becoming? You've grown, quietly, steadily, in ways that only heaven could measure. You've grown in patience, in discernment, in resilience. You've learned how to hear me without external confirmation. You've become someone who doesn't need spotlight to feel valuable, who doesn't need constant noise to know they're not alone. That's spiritual maturity. That's strength that lasts. And I'm proud of you, not just for surviving, but for choosing not to grow bitter, for trusting me in the in-between, for holding on to the whisper of truth even when it felt quieter than the grief. I saw you holding on to me when your hands were tired. I saw you worship with a cracked voice and a trembling heart. Those moments weren't small, they were sacred. They rewrote more than you know. They broke cycles of fear, of abandonment, of self-doubt that tried to take root in you. But they didn't win. You're still standing. And now I want you to look at your reflection and see what I see. Not someone left behind, but someone being positioned. Not someone discarded, but someone preserved. Not someone disqualified, but someone distinguished. Every scar you carry is not a sign of damage, it's a sign of depth. A sign that you've lived and felt and stayed tender enough to let me keep shaping you. You're not defined by what ended. You're defined by the way you kept opening your heart, even when it would have been easier to close it. That kind of courage, that's what makes heaven rejoice That's what prepares you for things others aren't even ready to carry yet. Because you've been in the quiet places, you've sat in silence and still whispered yes to me. So let's lay down the lie right now. The one that says something's wrong with you because they left, or because the job ended, or because the dream changed shape. That's not truth. The truth is, you're being formed for something fuller, freer, deeper, and the best part? You're not doing it alone. I'm in this with you, not just as a comfort, but as a guide, as the voice reminding you, you still matter. You still carry promise. You still belong in the story I'm writing. I haven't stopped calling your name. I haven't withdrawn my hand. I'm not disappointed in your process. I'm invested in it. I'm weaving together moments that look like delays but are actually alignment. Things are not falling apart, they're falling into place. And you're going to begin seeing how what once felt like disconnection was actually protection. This is not the version of you that has to settle. This is the version that's stepping into clarity, into identity, into a rhythm that doesn't wear you out but restores you. One where joy isn't sporadic, it's steady. One where peace doesn't visit, it remains. One where worth isn't tied to what stayed or left, it's anchored in me. You are not who the loss tried to label you as. You are not what the silence made you question. You are mine, called, chosen, whole. And this morning, I want you to move like it. Not with pressure, but with permission. Permission to laugh again without guilt. Permission to plan again without fear. Permission to enjoy this new chapter without obsessively checking the rearview mirror. It's okay to move on without losing your softness. It's okay to embrace joy without needing every answer. I'm not asking you to forget the past. I'm asking you to stop letting it name you. Let me do that, and I call you restored. I call you ready. There's a reason you've been feeling heavier than usual, even on days that seem normal. It's not that you're broken. It's not that you're failing at life. It's that you've been carrying more than you were ever meant to carry alone. And some of what you've been holding didn't even begin with you. It was handed to you, silently and slowly, over time. Expectations, unspoken responsibilities, emotional debts, and perhaps the most exhausting of all, the belief that you had to earn your place again after loss. Let's talk about that quietly embedded idea, the one that says you must make up for what didn't work out. That if something ended, it must have been your fault. That if someone walked away, you should have done more. That if a door closed, you must not have prayed hard enough. That mindset has nothing to do with grace. It has everything to do with pressure. And pressure is not how I build identity. I build it through presence, through relationship, through truth that doesn't change with your performance. You've absorbed messages from all directions, some through words, others through silence. Maybe you were told, directly or indirectly, that being valuable means being needed, that being strong means never showing sadness, that being faithful means never questioning the path. But those aren't my definitions. I never asked you to bury your questions. I never required perfection to call you mine. I don't expect you to carry what's too heavy. I expect you to hand it to me. What you've been carrying was never yours to hold for this long. You were never meant to be the sole guardian of everyone else's peace, the fixer of every disappointment, the quiet one who absorbs the impact so no one else feels it. Somewhere along the way, you mistook survival for identity. But I'm here to tell you, that's not who you are. That's what you did. And yes, it was brave, but it's not your name. Can you feel how tired you are from trying to be enough for everyone and everything? Can you feel how hard you've worked to keep moving forward while holding back tears no one else even noticed? I saw it, I still do. But I want more for you than white-knuckled strength. I want wholeness. I want joy that doesn't feel like a reward, but like a rhythm. I want you to know the difference between being needed and being loved. You don't have to be useful to be worthy. You already are. There's something sacred about this realization, not as a collapse, but as a release. You don't need to fight for your place anymore. You're not on trial in my presence. You're not waiting for a verdict. The verdict was already spoken over you before the loss, before the heartbreak, before the questions. I said, "You are mine," and that hasn't changed. I know it's hard to let go of those internal scripts, the ones that say, if I just do more, maybe I'll feel whole again. But wholeness doesn't come from doing, it comes from returning to who you are when the striving stops. Returning to the truth that your worth didn't fall when things fell apart. Returning to the center where my voice is still speaking, steady and clear. You are not what happened to you. You are not what they misunderstood. You are not what you couldn't fix. Do you want to know where that internal weight came from? It came from the moment you began to interpret pain as personal failure, from the moment you confused results with identity, from the moment your heart started believing that presence must be earned and love must be proven. That's not me. That's not how I work. My love doesn't depend on your momentum. It doesn't rise and fall with your achievements. It is steady, unshakable, relentless. And today I want you to begin releasing what was never yours to carry, not because you're weak, but because I never asked you to bear it alone. I'm not impressed by your exhaustion. I'm moved by your trust. I'm drawn to your willingness to rest in me, to breathe, to stop performing and start receiving. This is where true strength is born, not in pretending you're fine, but in admitting you need grace and letting it meet you right here. This block, the place you're standing in right now, is not one of disqualification. It's a holy pause, a divine recalibration, a clearing out of the lies that crept in while you were focused on surviving. You're not too much. You're not too late. You're not enough. You're my child. And you've always been enough simply by existing in me. So let's begin peeling off the pressure. You don't need to hold every relationship together. You don't need to anticipate every outcome. You don't need to earn your way back into joy. I'm not holding a checklist. I'm holding your heart. And I'm speaking to it now, gently but firmly. You are safe to let go of what never belonged to you. You are safe to be loved, not for your usefulness, but for your being. There's power in release. There's power in refusing to carry things that never carried you. And as you begin to release, you'll begin to rise, not just emotionally, but spiritually. You'll start to feel lighter, not because the world changed, but because your grip on false identity did. And I'll be right here guiding you into the kind of freedom that doesn't leave you exhausted, but leaves you whole. You may not realize it yet, but there are signs of life already breaking through. The shift you've been longing for, it's not just coming, it's happening. Slowly, maybe. Quietly, yes, but undeniably. Healing doesn't always begin with fireworks. Sometimes it starts with the smallest internal permission. I don't have to carry this anymore. And that's exactly what you've begun to say in your spirit. Have you noticed how your reactions have changed, even just a little? The way you don't spiral as easily into self-blame. The way you pause and breathe instead of rushing to fix what isn't yours to fix. That's not random maturity. That's restoration. That's me working inside you in real time. You're not stuck. You're stabilizing. You're not frozen. You're forming again. Sometimes the first sign of progress isn't a new opportunity. It's a new way of thinking. It's the moment your thoughts begin to align with my truth rather than your fear. It's when you catch yourself before spiraling. When you speak more kindly to yourself. When you feel hope flicker even when nothing around you has changed. That flicker is no small thing. It's sacred. It's a signal that the light inside you is still alive, and I'm fanning it, gently. You may have thought that being restored meant having everything back in place, but real restoration doesn't mean returning to how things were. It means becoming more aligned with who you truly are, who you were always meant to be in me. And that's what's unfolding now, piece by piece. I'm not rebuilding your old life. I'm establishing something better, something freer, something that can hold your soul without forcing it into shapes that don't fit anymore. You've started to say no to things that drain you, and that's sacred. You've started saying yes to rest, to clarity, to boundaries that protect your peace. That's maturity. That's movement. And it's just the beginning. I'm not rushing you, I'm walking with you. Because becoming who you truly are was never meant to be a race. It's a rhythm, one I hold, one you're learning to hear again. And don't overlook the courage it took to get here. It takes strength to release control, to trust me again when the last time you hoped, it hurt. To open your hands when everything in you wants to hold tighter. That strength is already producing fruit. You're not the same person you were a year ago. You're not even the same as a month ago. Grace has been shaping you the whole time, even on the days you felt like nothing was happening. Have you felt that subtle shift in your prayers? The way you speak less from fear and more from peace? Even your silence has changed. It's no longer empty, it's expectant. That's because something in your spirit knows. I haven't abandoned your story. I'm just preparing you to receive it with stronger hands and a steadier heart. You're not behind. You're right on time. Sometimes transformation feels so internal that you question if it's real. But let me assure you, what's happening inside will not stay hidden. What I'm doing in the roots will soon bloom on the surface. Your thoughts will overflow into words of life. Your choices will reflect confidence instead of reaction. Your presence will carry peace because it's no longer fighting for survival. It's living from overflow. Even the way you see others is changing. You're less defensive, more discerning. You're not as easily pulled into things that once consumed you. That's healing too. You're learning to be guided by my spirit instead of anxiety. To lead from love instead of needing to be needed. To receive without guilt. To give without depletion. This is what alignment feels like, and you're entering it. You're also starting to dream again, not wildly but wisely, not to escape the present, but to build from it. That's my spirit breathing vision back into places where you once felt numb. And as you dream, I will lead. Not with pressure, but with peace. Not with performance, but with presence. Because when you're aligned with me, you don't have to strive to reach what's already flowing toward you. And yes, some days will still feel uneven. That's okay. Healing isn't linear. It moves like breath, expanding, contracting, resting. But even in the pauses, I'm present. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for trust. Trust that what I planted in you will grow. Trust that the light you feel returning isn't imaginary. It's holy, and it will guide you. So pay attention to these subtle signs. Don't brush them off just because they're quiet. The greatest works I do often begin in whispers. The strength you feel returning, that's me. The tears that come without warning and feel strangely like release. Not despair, that's me too. The desire to re-engage with life, not from fear of missing out, but from joy that you're still here. That's the sound of resurrection, echoing through your soul. You haven't missed the miracle. You are the miracle. You're walking it out day by day. And soon, what's happening inside will spill outward in ways that will surprise even you. Stay with me. Keep walking. The roots are taking hold. And what's coming will be worth every quiet yes you whispered in the dark. You've spent a lot of energy trying to manage everything at once. Your thoughts, your responsibilities, your emotions, your future. And while that survival mode helped you for a season, it's not the rhythm I created you for. You were never meant to live in constant self-management. You were meant to live in partnership with me. And now that you're not in crisis, it's time to learn a different way of walking, one that feels like freedom, not pressure. Let's talk about your body for a moment. You've carried so much in it, not just physical weight, but emotional residue, stress that lodged in your shoulders, tension that wrapped around your chest like armor, exhaustion that never quite left, even after rest. But your body is not a machine. It's a temple. And I care about how you feel. I care about the rhythms that sustain you, the boundaries that protect you, the nourishment that restores you. You don't need to earn rest anymore. You don't need to prove your worth through exhaustion. In fact, some of the most holy work you can do in this season is unlearning the idea that burnout is noble. I'm not asking for hustle. I'm inviting you into harmony, into rhythms that match your design, into days that begin with intention, not anxiety, into a pace where you can actually hear me speak, not just rush from task to task hoping I'll catch up. It's time to build new habits that honor your healing. Wake up with gratitude, not guilt. Move your body not because it's broken, but because it's worthy of care. Eat in a way that feels like kindness, not punishment. Give your nervous system moments of calm, not just when everything is done, but as part of your normal day. These aren't luxuries. They're sacred choices. Each one whispers to your soul, you are not in survival anymore. You are safe to thrive. Let's talk about your spirit too. It's been faithful. Even in the waiting, even in the wandering, you kept showing up. You kept returning to me, even when the words ran out. And now I want to take you deeper. Not into more striving, but into greater stillness. Into prayer that doesn't have to be eloquent, just honest. Into moments of worship that don't start with music, but with awareness, with breath, with presence. You don't need to impress me with spiritual performance. I'm already here, already listening, already responding. You've never had to fight for my attention. You've always had it. Now let's shift from performing your faith to practicing it. Daily, naturally, with joy. Talk to me in the middle of the small things. Invite me into the gaps between your plans. Let me interrupt your schedule, not with disruption, but with beauty. Sometimes I'll speak through a scripture, other times through a breeze or a sudden moment of clarity or kindness. Don't limit my voice to the places you expect it. I'm in all of it, and I'm teaching you to walk with me moment by moment, not just in the highs, but in the quiet middle. You've spent a lot of it looking back, trying to decode the past, and even more of it trying to predict what's ahead. But your life isn't in either of those directions. It's here, in this breath, in this moment. That's where my spirit meets you right now. Not when everything makes sense, not when you've figured it all out, but now. Be still and know that I am God. Not tomorrow, not once you've earned it, but now. So start treating your time like it's not a threat, but a gift. You don't need to fill every minute to prove something. You're allowed to pause, to breathe, to say no, to create space for what matters. This isn't laziness, it's wisdom. Because when your life is full of things that drain you, there's no room for the things that grow you. You've said yes to too many things out of fear of being forgotten. But I haven't forgotten you. And I don't reward overextension. I respond to trust. Trust that I can do more with your peace than you ever did with your pressure. Trust that alignment with me will always accomplish more than overcommitment apart from me. Here's a truth I want you to internalize today. Your gentleness is your new strength. Not because you've become passive, but because you've become rooted. You no longer need to force, to rush, to convince. You know who you are. And when you live from that truth, your presence becomes powerful. not by what you do, but by how you exist. This is a new era for you, one marked not by perfection, but by alignment, not by external approval, but internal clarity, not by running ahead, but walking with me. And I will teach you how to live in this flow, not just today, but every day going forward. You don't need to know all the steps, you just need to take the next one with me. And the next step is simple. Breathe, release, and begin again, not from scratch, but from strength. Because everything you've walked through hasn't weakened you, it's equipped you. And now, you get to live differently. Freer, lighter, stronger. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Let's talk about who you are. Not who you were when things were going well, not who others needed you to be, but who you actually are underneath it all. You've worn so many roles. The dependable one, the strong one. The one who just gets things done. The one who listens but rarely gets asked how they're really doing. Those roles helped you survive some difficult seasons, but they are not your identity. You're not just the one who holds it all together. You're not just the one people turn to. You're not the title on your resume. You're not the label someone gave you in a moment of misunderstanding. You're not even the version of yourself you thought you had to become to be accepted. You are mine. And my definition of you isn't based on function. It's based on essence. It's based on love. Do you know what I see when I look at you? Not a product of your past, not a project that needs fixing. I see someone full of depth, shaped by truth, rooted in resilience. I see someone who has endured fire, but still chooses gentleness. Someone who has faced rejection and still chooses to show up with kindness. That's not fragility. That's strength most people never learn. You've spent a lot of time trying to prove that you're not too much, or that you're strong enough, or that you won't be a burden. And in the process, you've hidden parts of yourself that were never meant to be hidden. Your tenderness, your longing for connection, your love for stillness, your need for rest. Those are not flaws. They're features. They're signs of a soul that's alive, awake, and attuned to what matters. The masks you wore, they kept you safe for a time. But you don't need them now. Not with me. I never asked you to perform your identity. I asked you to live in it. Boldly. Honestly. Without apology. Because who you are when no one's watching, when the room is silent, when you're not being anything for anyone, is already enough. That's the you I created. That's the you I'm restoring. You're not what hurt you. You're not what walked away. You're not the failure you feared, or the silence you endured, or the comparison that wore you down. You are a reflection of my design. Beautiful, intentional, whole. And you no longer need to edit yourself to fit someone else's comfort. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to reflect me. There's no honor in disappearing just to be accepted. There's no glory in shrinking so others feel bigger. You weren't born to be invisible. You were born to carry light, and that light doesn't demand attention. It simply shines. Consistently, faithfully, authentically. That's who you are. Someone who shines because you've been lit by truth, not hype. You glow because you've learned to live with depth, not noise. And I know sometimes you wonder if you'll ever feel fully known, fully seen, fully safe to be all of yourself. Let me answer that clearly. With me, you already are. I know every part of you, the contradictions, the complexities, the questions, and I love all of it. I don't just tolerate you, I delight in you. There's nothing about you I would trade or rewrite. You are not a mistake. You are a masterpiece in motion. And I want you to start living like that's true. Not with arrogance, but with quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need validation because it's rooted in truth. The kind that walks into a room without shrinking. The kind that speaks up when needed and stays silent when wise. Not out of fear, but out of presence. From this point forward, I want you to walk free from the labels others have put on you, free from the false identities you carried like armor. You're not the fixer. You're not the forgotten one. You're not the background character in someone else's story. You are seen. You are known. You are chosen. And you are called. I don't want you to go back to being who you were. I want you to step into who you've become. The you that sees clearly, that loves deeply, that moves with peace, that no longer chases people for affirmation, but simply abides in love. The you that doesn't try to earn belonging because you already know you belong with me. So here's what I want you to do today. Let go of every sentence that begins with, I should have been, or if only I had. Those are sentences of shame, not truth. And I don't speak in shame. I speak in calling. I speak in affirmation. I speak in love that doesn't flinch. And what I'm saying now is this. You are enough. You are whole. You are free. You've already paid too high a price for approval that was never yours to chase. Now, you get to live from a different source. You get to be loved, not managed. You get to be guided, not pushed. You get to be you, the full, honest, radiant version that reflects my fingerprints. And as you begin to live from that truth, you'll see how much lighter life becomes. The decisions you make will come from peace, not panic. The relationships you choose will nourish, not deplete. The spaces you enter will feel more honest, more grounded, more you. And that version of you, that's the one the world needs. That's the one I'm releasing. So don't hold back anymore, don't shrink, don't edit, just be. And as you do, I will be there, affirming, guiding, surrounding, celebrating. Because who you are is exactly who I meant to create. And it's time the world sees that. 2. Now that you remember who you are, let me show you how to live from that place. Not as a taskmaster, not with a list of rules to follow or a weight to carry, but as a father guiding a child he loves, as a shepherd, leading someone who finally knows they're safe again. Because the life ahead of you isn't about earning approval, it's about walking with me in freedom. First, I want you to simplify, not your life's purpose, your rhythm. You don't need to fill every space. You don't need to respond to every demand. Your soul isn't built for non-stop input and output. You were designed for stillness as much as motion. Let your yes be more deliberate. Let your no be more confident. You're not here to do everything. You're here to do what matters most, and I will show you what that is day by day. I'm not asking for your perfection. I'm inviting you into a rhythm that restores you. Let prayer become breath, not performance. Speak to me naturally. Simply, honestly. You don't need to get the words right. Just be with me. Let our time together be your anchor, not your obligation. Some days you'll sit in silence. Others you'll pour your heart out. Both are sacred. Both are heard. Both are holy. Create space to listen, not just talk. Let silence be your friend again. Because when you turn down the volume of the world, you'll hear me more clearly. I'm not hard to find. I'm not far. I've always been near, even when you couldn't feel me. I don't just visit your spiritual life, I dwell in your entire life. I'm in your driving, your eating, your working, your resting. Invite me in. I'll guide you in ways you never expected. And don't overcomplicate how you grow. You don't need a complete plan, just a posture, one of openness, of expectation, of willingness to be formed moment by moment. You've already started. You've already shifted. Now, just keep choosing presence over pressure. Keep choosing stillness over noise. Keep choosing alignment over appearance. You asked me once how to hear me more clearly. The answer was never, do more. It was, be with me. I speak in peace, not in panic. I lead with love, not fear. My voice affirms, it never condemns. And if you want to discern what's truly from me, ask this. Does it bring clarity or confusion? rest or rush, life or depletion. I'm always on the side of life. Start building small altars of connection in your days. A walk where you say, "My name." A pause before you answer. A deep breath when your heart races. These are not insignificant. They are doorways. And through them I'll meet you. I'll reveal things you weren't even looking for. That's how I work. Not just in grand moments, but in the seemingly mundane. Let gratitude be your gateway. You don't have to feel grateful for everything, but find me in the middle of anything. That simple practice opens your heart to joy, and joy isn't a fragile mood. It's a resilient decision to trust that I'm still working, even when you can't see the full picture. That's faith, not pretending you're okay, but knowing you're not alone. I also want you to protect what I've been rebuilding in you. Don't offer your soul to voices that only drain. Not everyone will understand your healing, and that's okay. You're not here to convince them. You're here to walk in truth. Let your boundaries reflect your value. Let your schedule reflect your priorities. Let your friendships reflect your future, not your past pain. And give your attention to things that nourish you. Beauty, stillness, scripture that speaks to your identity, not your shame. Stories of redemption, acts of kindness toward yourself and others. Make space for what feeds your spirit, not just what fills your time. Most of all, I want you to trust that I'm leading you, not in confusion, but in clarity. Even when the path ahead isn't fully visible, you don't need to panic. I'm not leading you into fog. I'm leading you into fullness. Just keep showing up. Keep saying yes. Even small obedience moves mountains in the spirit. You don't need to feel powerful to be aligned. You just need to be willing. Let the sacred become simple, and let the simple become sacred, because this is what maturity looks like. Not striving harder, but staying closer. Not proving your devotion, but abiding in mine. That's the kind of faith that grows deep roots and bears lasting fruit. You're not just being healed, you're being equipped. And I'm not equipping you for a burden. I'm preparing you for impact, for joy, for influence that comes from authenticity, not strategy. You'll speak from overflow, you'll move with wisdom. You'll lead in your own way, quietly, faithfully, powerfully, because now you know where your strength comes from. So today, don't overthink it. You're not behind. You're not disqualified. Just be with me. Just keep walking. And I'll make sure your steps are ordered, your heart is guarded, and your life reflects the beauty of who you are. Not someday, but starting now. Now it's time to walk in what's been restored. Not quietly, not half-heartedly, but with the full awareness that you are no longer who you were in the wilderness. What happened inside of you is about to change how you move through the world. Not because you're performing something new, but because you're aligned with who you've always been. You're not just healed, you're ready. You've been recalibrated from the inside out, and now you'll begin to see things shift around you because the atmosphere you carry has changed. You no longer enter rooms seeking permission. You walk in with peace. You no longer shrink to protect others' comfort. You expand with quiet boldness. You no longer lead from pressure. You lead from clarity. The things that used to intimidate you will begin to look smaller, not because the situation's changed, but because you did. You're not reacting anymore. You're responding. You're not absorbing everyone's chaos. You're establishing a new rhythm, one where boundaries are clear, one where joy is sustained, one where what you allow into your life reflects what I've already spoken over you. You are called, capable, and covered. Watch how doors begin to open. Watch how conversations begin to shift. The people who once couldn't see you will begin to sense your presence in a new way, not because you're louder, but because your light is no longer hidden under fear. You carry authority now, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that changes rooms with gentleness. You've been through fire and come out refined, and people will feel it. What you carry isn't common. It's not something you learned in books or inherited by chance. It was formed through pressure, protected by grace, and awakened by my spirit. And now, I'm calling it forth. The words that once trembled on your lips, speak them with confidence. The vision you set aside because it felt too big, pick it up again. The joy you once thought was behind you, it's growing roots again, this time for real. And yes, there may still be opposition, but you're not easily shaken anymore, because now you know that favor doesn't always mean ease, but it does mean covering. My favor isn't about status, it's about presence. I go before you, I hem you in. I prepare the way, not with noise, but with undeniable peace that will follow you like a banner. You'll start to feel a boldness rising, a clarity about what to pursue and what to release. And this time, you won't doubt yourself every step of the way. That voice in your head that used to ask, "Who do you think you are?" will be replaced with the quiet assurance, "I am who God says I am." And that alone will anchor you. You'll start dreaming again, not for escape, but for impact. You'll begin designing your life with intention, not just reacting to others' needs, but creating space for what I've placed inside you. That is not selfish. That is stewardship. You're allowed to protect your capacity. You're allowed to say yes to joy, to beauty, to rest. Because your wholeness is not a side benefit. It's a strategy. I bless through healed vessels, and you are becoming one. Don't be surprised when you're asked to lead in ways you didn't expect. Influence isn't always a stage, it's presence. It's how you show up in your home, in your workplace, in relationships, in the way you sit across from someone and make them feel seen again. You carry that kind of weight now, a gentle authority, a settled power, one that doesn't dominate but restores. People will notice. They may not know what changed, but they'll feel safer around you, more grounded, less rushed. Because when you walk in peace, you give others permission to exhale, and that is what I'm doing through you. Not just lifting you out, but letting you lift others by simply being rooted in me. So stop waiting for the perfect time. This is the time. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're walking with me in real time. And I've already prepared what you're stepping into. The people you're meant to impact, I've been softening their hearts. The ideas you're meant to release, I've been stirring them again for a reason. The joy that's been calling you, it's not a distraction, it's direction. Move forward, write the thing. Say the thing, build the thing. Rest when I say rest. Speak when I say speak. You'll know the difference now because your spirit isn't clouded by old fear. It's tuned to my rhythm. And I'll confirm it, again and again. Not with thunder, but with peace. My peace will be your compass. And when uncertainty comes, as it always does, don't retreat. Pause. Yes. Reflect. Yes. But don't go backward. You've already crossed a threshold. You've already become too aware to disappear again. You've tasted what it means to be whole from the inside. Now live like it. Not for applause, not for outcomes, but because you are finally aligned with who I made you to be. This next chapter will not require a different version of you. It will require the most true version of you. And that's the version you've been becoming this whole time. Now that you're moving forward, let's talk about what sustains you. Not just what inspires you. Not just what motivates you in the moment, but what carries you through days that are both full of clarity and days when things still feel cloudy. Because this next chapter isn't about surges of energy or emotional highs. It's about learning to breathe differently. And by that, I mean letting my spirit become your breath, your rhythm, your first response. not your last resort. You don't need to run on your own strength anymore. You don't need to wake up wondering if you can handle what's ahead. You were never meant to rely solely on your intellect, your resilience, or your emotional capacity. All of those have value, but they were never designed to carry you alone. I sent my Spirit to dwell in you for a reason, because I knew you would need more than information. You would need presence. The Holy Spirit is not distant, not reserved for emergency situations or church services. He is your daily companion, your moment-by-moment guide. He's not a feeling, he's a person. He's not a mood, he's a constant. And he's already been working in you even when you didn't realize it. That gut feeling you had to pause, to speak, to step back, to breathe, that was him. That moment of unexpected peace, that was him. That insight that arrived just when you needed it, yes, him again. You don't need to chase my Spirit. You need to become aware that he's already here, already close, already active, and as you continue to heal, lead, create, and live from the place I've restored, you will need his presence, not occasionally, but always. And that's not a burden. That's your greatest gift. Let him be the breath between your thoughts. Let him be the anchor when your emotions start to rise. Let him speak before your fear does. Let him comfort you before you spiral into overthinking. He doesn't just point the way. He walks it with you, interpreting what you can't express, reminding you of truth when the world speaks lies, showing you how to hold space for others without losing yourself. Some days you'll feel strong, others, not so much. And that's okay. The goal was never to become independent from me. It was to become completely united with me, and the Spirit is the bond of that unity. In your weakness, he reminds you that strength isn't a performance, it's a presence. And in your strength, he reminds you that confidence isn't arrogance, it's alignment. He'll whisper things you need to hear before you even know to ask. He'll bring scripture to your heart when you're about to give up. He'll nudge you to reach out when someone needs what you carry. He'll remind you of your boundaries when old habits try to sneak back in. And most of all, he'll keep you connected, not to performance or productivity, but to peace. You're now learning what it means to be led by peace, not pressure. That's the Spirit's signature. He doesn't rush, he doesn't panic, he doesn't manipulate. He leads gently, faithfully, consistently. He makes your spirit lighter, your mind clearer, your decisions more rooted. When you feel that ease, that deep yes in your soul, follow it. That's him. And even when things get noisy again, when emotions flare, when the calendar fills up, when uncertainty rises, the Spirit doesn't abandon you. He stays, he waits, he whispers, even through the noise. Come back to me, let me breathe for you again. And when you pause, even for a second, you'll feel it. The breath beneath the stress, the presence beneath the moment, the stillness in the storm. This is how you'll live from now on. Not in constant striving, but in constant connection. Not checking in with me once a week, but walking with me every hour. Not trying to hear a voice from the sky, but recognizing that the voice has already made its home within you. You're going to walk into places that feel spiritually dry, and you'll carry living water. You'll enter rooms filled with noise, and your presence will release calm. Not because you force it, but because you're breathing differently now. Because the Spirit is no longer just part of your life. He is your life, your source, your guide, your strength. Let him teach you how to rest without guilt. Let him teach you how to lead without losing your gentleness. Let him show you how to build without burning out. Let him show you that the most powerful people in my kingdom are not the loudest, but the most connected. This is the rhythm of someone who's whole, not someone trying to hold it all together, but someone who knows they're already held. And as you continue to live this way, you will begin to see that what I've placed in you is not fragile. It's fueled daily, supernaturally, consistently, quietly, by my Spirit. So breathe again fully, deeply, not like someone still surviving, but like someone who knows, I am not alone anymore. I never was. That's the truth. And that's the power that will carry you from this day forward. You've come a long way, not in miles, but in meaning. You've walked through shadows that tried to steal your voice, your light, your confidence. And yet here you are, standing in the quiet power of someone who has nothing to prove and everything to live for. You didn't rush the process. You didn't fake your way through it. You walked it, fully, courageously, and I honor that. This is not the end of your healing, but it is the beginning of your sending. You are no longer trying to recover who you were. You are now walking in who you've become. And what I see in you now, it carries weight. It carries presence. It carries my Spirit. The world may not understand the cost of your transformation, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that you know who you are, and you no longer doubt what you carry. You've been refined, not reduced. Your tenderness is not a weakness. It is proof of a heart that stayed open even when it was easier to close. That openness is the soil where new things will grow. The way you speak, the way you lead, the way you rest, the way you refuse to strive, the way you choose truth over pressure. That is your new way of being, and it will shake things, not loudly, but deeply. So don't look back, not with regret, not with comparison, not with longing. The version of you that lived in survival did what it needed to do, but now I'm walking with a version of you that's no longer surviving. It's aligned, empowered, present, whole. The healing was never meant to make you return to normal. It was meant to awaken you to the fullness of who I created you to be from the beginning. Now walk with pace, not the kind that depends on your circumstances, but the kind that rests inside you like a river, the kind that cannot be shaken because it doesn't come from the world. It comes from me. You're not fragile. You're not on the edge. You're rooted now. And rooted people move differently. They speak less from reactivity, more from revelation. They lead with calm, not chaos. They create space for others without disappearing themselves. What's next won't require striving. It will require trust. It won't require noise. It will require clarity. You won't need to impress anyone, because your presence will carry the evidence of my work. The way you show up now, it's different. You don't carry desperation. You carry depth. And that is rare, and that is holy. Let me seal this in you. You are not what you lost. You are what I have restored, what I have reawakened, what I have been growing inside you even when everything else felt still. And now you walk into the next season with authority. Not from status, not from title, but from truth. The truth that says, you are mine, you are ready, and you are not alone, and you are not behind. You are not unfinished, you are not late, you are on time, because I am the one who sets the time. And now, the time is right. Go, step forward with peace, live from overflow, love with freedom, create without fear, rest without guilt. This is your moment. This is your rhythm. This is your life. And I am with you in all of it. Amen. If these words stirred something awake in you, don't keep it to yourself. Someone else is waiting to feel what you just remembered, that they are not what they lost. Share this. Be the echo of my voice in someone else's silence. Let your healing become their hope.